And on today's show, how productivity can turn your practice around. Part 2 of this week's series on industry trends that can change the financial industry with nationally recognized top industry consultant, Chuck Hollander. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to day 2, Chuck.
Thanks, Steve. Good to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here because we know how to fix. Carriers are fixing themselves. They're fixing their product. They're always coming up with new planning strategies after some tax code changes.
Yeah.
But nobody's paying attention to their number one value proposition, their human resource, their careers. The career shop's not tending to their population, their agent population. In brokerage, we're on our own. It's independence.
Yep.
So we want to know what to improve it. But this stat really took me back. I have to say, when I first saw this, 85% of top advisors are selling similar and undifferentiated products and services, so we all look the same, sound the same.
Yeah, and that's the result of it.
35% of all initial sales conversations never make it to the second meeting. I'm wondering, the statistics, if that stat is anywhere near the reality, think about that number. We blow a lot of acquisition costs on a first meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, there's serious money there, and now I'm not even going to get a second chance?
Yeah, it is. I mean, think about this. If you could start to lower that 35%, you can't eliminate it, right? But if you could start lowering that, there is more business opportunity there than there is by finding a new product or new planning technique to take to the marketplace. And this is a sustainable way to differentiate yourself by opening doors more effectively and communicating how you're going to create value in ways that other advisors aren't.
Well, when we're talking today, we're chatting about productivity. And I have to say, my Germanic background, I'm thinking work ethic, more time, give me sweat equity. You're saying, see, that's not it.
No. See, people mistake productivity as time management. It's not. The fact is, advisors are running very unhealthy businesses. And it's not the advisor problem anymore. It's the companies that they represent. So if you want to, we can go through some of these statistics if you'd like.
Well, I want to ask you this before we get to this. What about that idea? I heard you talk about this before. You said, Steve, the average advisor is losing about 52 business days a year. Now, I was taken back by that because you're talking now, you're well into almost a month and a half here.
Oh, yeah.
And it's completely lost.
No, business days, 52. So it's
52
more, it exceeds 2 months, right?
So tell me, how did you come to that number and why is this important to know?
Here it is. And by the way, this study here is a recent study I just did with a top office, top producers, all of them making over $500,000 a year. And here's the question: how often do you catch yourself working on activities that are not helping your company grow? And they're given the responses daily, weekly, monthly, or infrequently. 50% of them said daily. If I add daily and weekly, 87%. We're working on things not helping our company grow.
Why are they doing that?
Watch this. How often do you feel like you're inefficient with your time, therefore doing a poor job of getting things done? 75% given daily and weekly. So when you go back to that statistics you shared, 52 days, on average, advisors are losing 52 days a year inefficiency, working on things not helping them grow. Because their modus operandi, their basic plan to grow is to go out and sell more. Sell more doesn't take away the complexities of being in business, and sell more doesn't make it any easier. The complexity of being in business today kills good ideas. So when we're looking for good ideas, and you can't manage your business any more effectively than this, it's killing good ideas. So we got to turn to building healthier practices. For the carriers out there, or anybody in charge of a major channel of distribution, I want you to think about this. This is not an advisor problem. If you have 100 top advisors, just take your top A players. What's 100 times 52 days? It's 5,200 days a year being lost to doing things not helping the company grow. So as a manager, your job is not to help them reduce their selling time, it's to increase their selling time. So this is a call for help, not only for the advisor level, but the institutional level. Huge inefficiency or gap in the industry.
Is it hard to break the behaviors that have actually supported these huge inefficiencies?
Not when you see the cost. I think, I don't know if we have it here. I'll ask them in the audience. I said, listen, if you were the CEO, take your salesman's hat off for a moment, Steve. Just take it off for a moment. If one of your executives came to you and reported to you that you had an executive that they told you that they were inefficient with their time and they weren't doing a good job getting things done, what would you do with that employee?
I'd probably terminate him.
Terminate him. How about this employee? This employee, he's actually coming to you and saying, I'm doing a bad job helping my company grow because I'm working on things not helping it grow. What would you do with that employee?
I terminate.
Well, back to your question. Is it hard to get these advisors and these guys and gals to change? No. Not when you see them the cost. Show them the cost of staying status quo. It's the cost of being the conventional way to grow a practice. This is not how to grow a practice. And this isn't time management. This is building healthier advisory practices.
When we come back from the break, I wanted Chuck to talk about this on the time management issue because we have spent serious thousands, almost millions of dollars on time management, and this has never been the issue. We're still cutting the grass and not getting to the root of the problem. We'll be right back in about 30 seconds. Back in the day, life insurance professionals were called field underwriters. Then, carriers trained their field force in the basics of life insurance underwriting. Today, the insurance industry doesn't educate the agent population as they once did. But now you can have the Informed Risk Guide at your fingertips so you can illustrate a reasonable rate class for your life insurance prospects. Just request your copy of the Informed Risk Guide at downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. It's free from Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back. We're in segment 2, and I want to pick up where we left off. Chuck, we spent, I said thousands, probably millions, carriers, IMOs. We spent a lot of money trying to improve the practice of producers because we identified it as a time management issue, and this is proving this is not it. Time management issue is not our problem.
Yeah, it's not a time management. Time management is an attempt to solve this, address the symptom, not the problem. The problem is advisors' practices are on the outside are growing far faster than the way they're inside. They're not running healthier businesses. We're taught how to sell. We're not taught how to build a business. Go back to the metaphor Moneyball. The power of Moneyball, that the story there, or the metaphor for all of us, is that Billy Beane was given the lowest payroll in the history of baseball, $40 million. He had to compete with the likes of $112 million New York Yankees. So the lesson was it wasn't what you had, it's how you decided to spend it. They spent $40 million completely different than their competitors. So take this and apply it to you. If you're a sole proprietor and you're going to contribute 2,000 hours into this year, or maybe you have two people they're working for you, 2,000 plus your other, that's 4,000 hours. If you're going to be working together for 5 years, that's 4 times 20,000 hours. The question is, how will you spend it? Go back to the sole proprietor. 2,000 hours, the next 5 years, 10,000. How will you decide to spend those 10,000 hours? If you don't have a strategic plan, then you're leaving your business up to chance. You're leaving those 10,000 hours up to chance. So this isn't a time management issue. This is, how am I going to spend that money, my time, talent, and money? Those are your only resources of business. And when you're working on things not helping you grow, it's like doing ordinary business, watching your inventory walk out the door. So a couple years ago, I hired Mark Diversion. Mark Diversion was at one time a partner at Moss Adams, heading up their consultant division. Now he's one of the CEOs at Pershing. And he was the grandfather of bringing the institutional thinking of strategic planning to the advisory marketplace. And when he came down to visit my office, he said, Chuck, when you're working on things not helping you grow, it's like an ordinary business, watching its inventory walk out the door. So what advisors need to do is they need to build a strategic plan that dictates in advance how they're going to spend their time, their talent, and their money. And how they're going to do that over the course of 3 years, how they'll do it in a year, and how they'll do it every 12 weeks. When you focus on those things, now you can create focus and productivity. Steve Jobs said it best, focus is saying no. Well, in order to say no, you need to know what to say yes to. Most advisors have a list like this. So your strategic plan shortens that list to your highest and most important priorities. And now you're able to create focus, productivity, and accountability throughout your organization because you know what to say no to by having your yes list.
Well, I think I think the power of saying no is huge. I recall going through my first gauntlet where I had to actually produce a business plan for my boss.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was running comic strips in Broker's World and other trade magazines. as kind of a secondary anecdotal advertising. It was fun. I loved to do it.
Yeah.
But it took time. There wasn't much revenue to it. They came through my list of all my activities, and they started putting a bullet in everything that wasn't producing. It was my child, and I had to say goodbye to it.
Yeah.
Because it was not producing for me.
That's right.
It was wasting my time. It was cool. It was great, but it really wasn't what we thought it would be, which was this will help more advertising. It was an illusion for me.
Yeah. So here's my message. You have everything that you need. The challenge is how you're going to spend it more wisely. And that's what a strategic plan, not a business plan, that's what a strategic plan will do for you. And on our next show, I believe our last show, we'll be talking about how that strategic plan can create breakthrough growth for you.
I think if people would actually ask this question of themselves, this is kind of a big moment in a person's life. You spend the weekend and you read this over the weekend and ask yourself, how inefficient do you feel? I mean, are you feeling that you're doing a poor job? Are things not getting done? I think most of our audience are going to say, I got a ton of this in my life.
And it's funny, everyone will say, like you said, I'd fire that employee.
Right.
And I turn to him, well, Steve, you are that employee.
Wow.
What are you going to do about this tomorrow?
I guess I'm terminating myself.
Yeah, right. So, it acknowledges the consequences of not taking action.
I wanted to talk a little bit about this slide here. How often do you feel like your unproductive day? I kind of got the daily. That wasn't too bad, but I'm thinking weekly. We're sitting at 75%.
Yeah.
On a weekly basis and say this. I'm wondering if a carrier who's watching this right now, or maybe an IMO, they're saying, Chuck, if that's true, how do I fix this?
Yeah, well, that's a symptom of, working on things. There's no wonder we feel this way, right? Even if it's not at 75, saying weekly, it's 50. This is still, people are not present anymore. You go into meetings, you're in your office and you're not present. You go home at the end of the day and you're not present. And it's a result of this. So this is a big issue, and there is a fix to this. Advisors have everything they need. They need to shift their focus, shift the way they're looking at business, and shift the way they're going to compete in this business. Because sell more is nothing more than a recipe for career burnout and a loss of productivity.
Wow. Well, you want to catch our show tomorrow. We're going to continue this whole saga about our own personal behaviors and productive issues. We have to change. It's simple as that. Well, that's our show for today. Remember, before moving forward with any ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance department. And don't forget, you can catch all our past episodes at downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. And remember, you could be wiser as an Ash Brokerage advisor. I'm Steve Savant. We'll see you tomorrow.